Welcome in, everybody. This is Sportsify. I am your host, Matt Novak. Alongside me, as always, Grant Hocker.
As always.
Jameson DeFore on the third mic.
Hello.
And the dude that writes most of our script and gets us stats every week, joining us for the season's end episode. Welcome in, Mike Connor.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
And fly they did, because we're going to start right there today. And complete domination. The score 34-0 in the second half. The Chiefs don't see the other side of the 50 for 9 straight possessions. Domination like we've only seen it 2 times before in the history of the Super Bowl, going into the middle of the fourth quarter before the Eagles finally said, hey, guys, we're going to let the bench play so they can say they were in this game. Just decimation. 40-22 is the final. Eagles take the Super Bowl. Matt goes home happy alongside a whole bunch of Eagles fans who shot fireworks at themselves all night on Sunday night. I hope you're all well and have your thumbs and all the rest of your appendages. But, man, that was about as bad as it gets, boys. It does not get worse. Barely worse.
And again, the score makes it look better than it was because it was all garbage time.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
all garbage time. If you really want to look at it, it was 40-6 because they scored on that one play. They scored 3 touchdowns within a span of 4 or 5 minutes of game time, which shows how dangerous they can be, first of all.
Sure. How dangerous Worthy is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Sure.
He plays bye-bye ball. 187 yards, 2 touchdowns for that dude. He
Had the 4 catches, right? Or something like that.
I don't know why they're
ridiculous.
It's tied Tyreek Hill
8
numbers.
for 157.
Yeah. Well, 8 for 157. My bad.
On 8 targets. By the way.
Dyslexia is a heck of a drug. It's not a drug. But legit, like, that dude, that could have been the game plan from the get. I understand how they got the one-on-ones late when you're just playing safe ball that gets that over the top and everything. But, yeah, it was just ridiculous and truthfully hilarious, by the way, that Pickett gets to play in this game. There was some good for you moments. Pickett with the home crowd, getting to go back home and play in this game. Well, down in New Orleans, but play for his home team, a team that he grew up supporting. And that was super cool. But they go for it on 4th down and give the Chiefs the short field late in the fourth quarter. That was hilarious. Like a, who cares at this point mode.
If you're running out Kenny Pickett, you don't care anymore. Like,
it was so in hand. It was ridiculous. But I loved that some bench players did get to play. That was a cool moment in this game. More on that in a second. But the best moment of this game, hands down, Cooper DeJean getting an interception, return for a touchdown on his birthday in the Super Bowl. Rookie extraordinaire out there. Loved every second of that. Loved a 2-hand tuck on the ball, head down to cross the end zone, by the way. Everybody and their mother knows, and I said this to a whole bunch of people after the game this week, but everybody and their mother knows that defensive players suck at holding onto the ball inherently. Now, this guy's a little better because he returns kicks, so you got to have a little bit of possession mindset. But the fact that he didn't put the ball on the ground in that scenario and give Patrick Mahomes that legendary, opportunity for 98, 99-yard touchdown, he played safe, just like I said, stuck his head down, went over the goal line. Beautiful moment. My favorite moment of the whole game, and I was just so happy for that guy. Absolutely.
Yeah. Dude, I was pounding the table for the Niners to draft him with their last pick in the first round.
Yes, we were.
And man, I was like, dang it, the Eagles got him. How do we let him do this every year?
Well, that's what they do.
That's
kudos for him. Like
Howie Roseman.
That draft classes last year, so good. And that Eagles team is stacked. They're losing a couple guys, but not a whole lot. They're going to be good next year. Those lines are solid. They're going to be continued.
And at this point, I know you agree. We all trust Howie Roseman when it comes to those draft picks. Period.
Oh yeah,
this dude's just going to consistently put them in the place where, regardless of what they're looking for, they're going to get it in those first and second, third rounds, especially. Their hit rate is incredible. Dude, Josh Sweat, by the way, in this game. Speaking of the incredible moves that Howie Roseman has made, 2.5 sacks. That's ridiculous. 6 sacks total for the Eagles. I loved the constant pressure, both interceptions that Mahomes threw in this game, a result of obvious defensive line pressure. They owned that. And what the Chiefs do so well is they create those wide lanes for Mahomes. And in this game, that defensive line made sure that was the smallest pocket he'd seen all year. And the impact constantly coming from one side or the other. You saw his hip go completely on the one that he threw to Zach Bond. He had no shot at coming across the body there while he's being laid into. The fumble as well that took place, like that dude got hit 3 times on that play. Now, I also agree with everybody who's about to say there was a knuckle inside his face mask. You are correct. 100% you're correct. But he did get hit 3 times on that play. And regardless, that was a win for the Eagles in that moment. Like, even if they would have got the 15-yard penalty, it was just constant pressure. And they were hitting him every other down, it felt. And, dude, what a monster of a defense Vic Fangio puts together.
Well, not only
just to rules clarify real quick, is he fumbled the ball before the hand was in his face. They wouldn't have gotten the ball back. They would have just gotten a 15-yard penalty with the ball. So anybody I've had a KC friend was like, I can't believe they're trying to do the opposite because they were so worried about getting called fair for KC.
So they were.
I was like, that rule, even if they throw the flag, the Eagles still have that ball. It was still a fumble.
Yeah,
it didn't matter at that point. Just so everybody understands, like that is the rule clarification. The foul happened after the fumble. So it was a loose ball foul and not an actual like during the play foul. So
yeah, I did have somebody ask, did that disqualify him? Did that like
from
the penalty? It disqualify him from being able to recover the ball? And I was like, irregardless, even if they're trying to keep Mahomes from getting the fumble recovery, you can't argue the point because it's a 50-50, and you can't argue that one at all. Yeah, no. Either way, it was like I said, it was a win for the Eagles. What happened there, even if stupid, it's. Mike, we have seen them make some insane calls regarding fumbles in the Chiefs this year.
Absolutely.
And the reward going the other direction when there is no rule precedent to allow for that to happen. So there is that. But no, man, just all the credit in the world to the Eagles for the domination of this game. Jalen Hurts, holy cow. Way to get it done when it matters. That was impressive as crud. I don't know. What was the final on? I know his rushing totals were 11 carries. Was it like 90-something yards?
71, I believe. I had it
71, and then he was at
70-something.
And he had 72 yards, 221 passing, 17 for 22, 2 touchdowns a pick. Only sacked twice.
Yeah, 293 on the total yards then, right? If I'm doing my math. And
absolutely
got the push.
That and then too, but like think about it too. In the Super Bowl a few years ago, he had 4 touchdowns in that game. In the 2 Super Bowls, he had 7 touchdowns. Shows up in the big game. In the biggest game. Those are some solid numbers.
Remember, after that game, yeah, absolutely great point, dude. Because after that game, we were like, hey, this isn't Jalen Hurts' fault at all. Like, that dude played a borderline flawless game. We felt awful for him.
He had the one mistake. He had the one fumble.
But we were all like, really? Is that entirely his fault, even how that went down? We were asking that question, too. And just looking at the scheme of what happened over the course of that entire game, it was incredible how well he played. This was just an absolutely... not completely flawless, but close to it, follow-up to his previous Super Bowl. I don't see any shame in the game on in this one.
And then it was that pick was also inconsequential because he throws the pick. It was like a 3rd down, long punt. And then I'm pretty sure the next play is the Zach Baum pick. Like the exact next play that put them... Essentially, it was a weird workaround deep pass he completed essentially because they got to advance like that. But I do want to say something. I want to run through something real quick because before we kind of move on that topic, I want to go through the last 4 Eagles draft classes.
Hit it.
There's not a better draft 4 years. 2021, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, 2 starters right there, contributors. Devontae Smith obviously caught touchdown in this game. 2022, Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean. 23, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith right there. And then in 24, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, 2 defensive rookie of the year candidates right there. That is an insane 4 years. There's not a better 4-year draft than those. Those are all starters and contributors, and we saw them all contribute. It was insane. Howie Roseman deserves GM of the year every year. It should be the award.
They didn't have Nakobe Dean, did they? He's been hurt, right?
I don't know if he was in this game or not.
I think he was hurt in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure he was hurt.
Yeah, I don't think he even played in this game. I don't think Nakobe Dean was out there. He's going to come back next year, and they might lose Baum, right? But they have Dean that's been in the waiting. It's like these guys can't lose. They just seem to have a plan for every outcome. It's crazy how good this front office is, as much as I hate the Eagles and their fan base, like they're so good at their job over there.
And then also just the free agency additions of obviously Saquon, but then also the trade for AJ Brown has been incredible for them. And all of those guys have been contributing. The trades, the signings, the draft picks. Like, it's the most complete team in that sense of how they've built it. They've built it the most perfect way. And here we go. Super Bowl champs.
And really what they're able to do here is genuinely reload. If you look at how they're cycling the positions too, they're spending the money where you spend the money. Okay. So they're spending money on your 1-2 receivers. That's about to happen. I already spent some money on AJ. You're spending money on quarterback, which makes sense in the overall context of the market. And a lot of people felt that they significantly overinvested in Hurts.
You can't complain right now. You're not upset about it right now.
Compare W's and L's in the playoffs with Lamar Jackson. For those of you that want to question that, both guys can get you there, but one guy excels when it matters. Also, they saw the value of the position of running back, in particular with regard to one specific player, and they go out and make that move. They don't overinvest there, but you're spending money where you need to spend money, and then you're reloading on a young defense. You're investing in your defensive line constantly, and then once you've solidified an area, they're quick to move on. Like what you just said, Grant, was really cool, because if you look at positionally where they've gone, okay, it's to all these positions you don't want to pay.
Yeah.
Like no franchise wants to pay cornerbacks. That is not a position you want to overpay, especially. No franchise wants to go and inherently just start investing money in defensive tackles. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to pay for linebackers.
Linebacker is the running back on the defensive side in terms of the position.
Yeah. You want to pay them mid-dollar. You're good at $10 million. That's okay right now. You're good at 12, unless his name is Fred Warner. Unless his name's Michael Parsons, like, you don't really want to pay a linebacker.
No.
That's just not where you want to spend the money. So they've done such a good job at investing in all those key areas. Nakobe Dean included in there.
Bomb 1 year.
Just
1 year, $11 million. 1 year, $11 million for Bond, and he was a difference maker.
Absolutely a
Picking a
difference
Super
maker.
Bowl.
Defensive
finalist.
Player of the Year candidate.
Yep.
So good.
Defensive Player of the Year candidate, because they put a guy who runs Vic Fangio's defense on the field. And they understood Vic Fangio is only going to be here for a limited amount of time. We know what we're going to get, so we're just going to insert personnel that fits it. And Vic's, hey, I need some one-on-one corners, some real good ones. I need a middle linebacker that can do this, specifically this. And he needs to have a buddy. You look at that defense, because the Niners have been running a similar scheme since that dude left. Legitimately, as a Niner fan, watch it every year. It's 4 guys that can go get the ball with some backups on the edge. It's 2 dudes that hover the middle and can play both base and zone defense, okay, and can cover. No accident at all that Zach Bond was in the middle of that field ready for an interception and caught it, okay? No accident at all. And then it's guys that can play man-to-man and 2 top safeties. That's what you need. Like, literally, they constructed it perfectly for what this guy runs, and they weren't afraid to go invest rookies. So it's so smart to not pay certain positions, to put them in scheme where they will succeed. Howie Roseman is just different. Like, he's just different. There's no ego there. It's what do you need to make it work? And, bro, like, brilliant with the money, brilliant with all of it. This is a reload set. I'm not going to be shocked they're in the NFC Championship game or in the Super Bowl again next year, because they're just going to be able to continually reload. Zach Bond, literally, thank you for all your service. May not be on the team, shouldn't be on the team. He honestly shouldn't. There's no world where he should sign a deal.
Because he's gonna, he's
2 years
gonna
and he's going to get a 3-year contract.
He's earned himself out of what the Eagles are willing to pay.
He's going to say 17. 3 and 15, 3 and 17. Yeah, 317 is probably his ideal number, but he's probably searching for 3 and 60.
And 2, also, if you think about it, the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost, their coaching staff got completely poached.
Yep.
And for all intents and purposes, they're staying. So the continuity, all the spots have been filled.
The OC's gone.
Oh, yes, that's right. Kellen Moore is gone. But there's going to be a lot of continuity on that defense. That's probably going to continue. Vic Fangio, there's no path for him to upgrade, and he's going to stay.
Fangio's not going back to being a head coach. He doesn't want to be a head coach.
Yeah.
That's just he is Spags 2.0.
Yeah,
100%. But The other thing I want to give credit to, and I don't know names, but I do want to say, like, when you go look at the GM thing, this is a team that has put together what's also widely regarded around the league as the best scouting department that there is.
Shows up. Yep.
And that is also Howie's job. Credit to him also for that. I have literally nothing negative to say about Howie Roseman other than he puts together a team that I don't like. So like legitimately, I have no negative things and anybody that has anything negative to say about him, dude, you're just a hater. Like,
you're a Cowboys fan, you're an Eagles fan, you're a Giants fan.
Absolutely. And we get that. He makes your life a living hell. We get it. It makes sense. But no, that was super cool to just watch a team execute exactly their game plan that well against a incredibly coached team. With clearly what we still regard as the number 2 quarterback of all time on it. That's not going away because of what happened this Sunday. I had somebody come at me this week already and go, I'm just going to calm you down about your calling out Patrick Mahomes being the greatest quarterback of all time. I was like, first of all, it's not what we're saying. No, I've not said that. I have said he's on his way to being. I've definitely said that.
Greatest active.
He's the best. He's the best quarterback in the league. Period. Right now, still
by far.
But also
Brady was 3-2 in his first 5 Super Bowls. If you want to,
let's go. That's
exactly
where that comment was
with
going.
a 10-year break.
Yeah, exactly. And this guy's 29 years old.
Yep, dude, he hasn't hit his prime yet in terms of quarterback. Like,
and the reason we were talking about this and talking about this whole Patrick Mahomes conversation, GOAT conversation, including him in there, is also because he was on track to potentially do something that Brady had never done. Repeat. Now it's gone, and I do think the conversation's changed a little bit. Yep, but at the same time, for us to say that is not crazy, because if he was to go and win a 3-peat and do 3 in a row, that's never been done before.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, come at us, Packer fans. Come at us, Packer fans. That's not an NFL championship.
Yeah,
literally, it's not. It was a pre-merger win that you had with a garbage league full of a bunch of dudes who were borderline, actual alcoholics, just showing up on Saturdays and Sundays to beat the crud out of each other.
What do you think was in their coolers?
Some of them literally worked in the warehouse on the weekdays and came and played on Sunday.
What do you think was in their cooler? Gatorade? Nah, it was probably some beer.
They were smoking cigarettes on the sideline.
Legitimately. So don't come at us with this. It was a real thing. No, it wasn't a real thing. I said it last week when we were talking about it because I was like, don't start with me. This is the stupid Boston Celtics conversation. Like that they're the greatest franchise of all time because they used to win a bunch. And I said it then. Yeah, when there was 14 teams in the league, and legitimately there was one guy that was 7 feet tall and he was on your team.
And or the 11 championships. That's why he's better than MJ.
Mm-hmm. He's sure.
Bill Russell, because he had 11.
We have a couple friends that like to make that argument a lot, and they can bite a wall and they know who they are and occasionally watch this. But again, I hope we clip it for them.
Just to value your point, what you were saying is like Patrick Mahomes going to do something that we've never seen before. So these conversations are completely warranted. To talk about this. It's not us being reactionary. It's not us being like, ooh, this is spur of the moment. We're caught up in the moment. We're recency bias. It's legitimately, this was going to be historic.
Yeah. For 15 years before we started talking about Tom Brady, everyone almost exclusively had Joe Montana as like the GOAT.
Yeah.
Right? He won 3 Super Bowls in 10 years. Right?
Undefeated in them too. 4-0.
Yeah. 4 Super Bowls total. 3 Super Bowls in like 10 years, and then he had the last one on the 11th year or whatever it was. But then you look at Tom Brady, he goes to the playoffs every single year for 20 years straight. What do you
only didn't win his division like 2 times?
2 times the whole time.
1 year. Yeah.
Yeah, and also guess what? By the way, I'll let you finish, Mike. Go ahead.
I was like, you move the GOAT conversation over to Tom Brady. That's fine. That's great. Okay. Joe Montana would probably say the same thing. I didn't have that kind of success. And then you look, and then Tom Brady's now looking at the football season. And they're like, okay, the game's not the same. It's easier for him, but he's a fantastic QB, and he could easily break my record. That's Tom Brady's own words right there. He does call out the league for being too soft on QBs, but
but he did it when he played too. He did it when he played too.
That's starting to change.
Yeah, he didn't like it. He doesn't feel like football as much anymore.
And that's a dude who has a rule named after him, by the way.
Yeah,
legitimately. Like when he got taken out below the knee, like that they changed everything for that. But No, it is warranted to still say, like, when Patrick Mahomes has the moment, that he takes the moment. And that's been my whole point all season long. I said it in the first episode during the regular season when I was talking with Grant about it. Like, this is the best quarterback of moments. I've said it many times since then. I'm not backing off that point at any time soon. I don't think that I'll ever back off that point. He's going to have to make some horrible errors to be dethroned in that conversation, because while Tom won with great consistency and the most Super Bowls and is still the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom didn't have to intercept that ball at the goal line. Tom didn't. There are things that his defense clearly did for him that Mahomes' defense has not been doing for him. And I'm not trying to take anything.
Super Bowl, he was barely even there.
Adam Vinatieri,
that was all defense.
And Adam Vinatieri
he threw like one
touchdown
that entire run.
Yeah, less than 200 yards passing. Yep.
Yeah.
He has had the benefit of being on the best coach team in the history of the NFL. And I'm not taking anything away from him when I say that. He had that benefit, and that's undeniable. Patrick Mahomes has legitimately been placed into moments of opportunity that he has literally not missed in. This game, he did not have that opportunity. There was just nothing there. And that's all credit to the Eagles defense. But if you put the ball in his hands and a drive to go, you can't tell me that you'd rather have Joe Montana or Tom Brady. Mike might say he wants Joe Montana, but I would not. You can't really say it. Like, you want Patrick Mahomes to have that ball. He has a knack that nobody's ever had when it matters. That's
still what
my whole point.
17 straight one-score games that they've won.
Yep.
It's the best
ball control, man. That's what he does.
Probably the best coach team in the league too. People need. I mean, Andy Reid is still like the best
penalty wise. Yeah,
I mean, they were sloppy in the Super Bowl for a myriad of reasons, but it also, like, to add to your guys' point, like, people I think have almost course corrected too hard already because of all of the Chiefs hate and blah blah blah.
But
I'm not going to knock on the guy for losing in his, like, his fifth Super Bowl that he's been to, and the only time he's exited a season earlier than the Super Bowl is in the round before that. So we're talking about a guy who's either playing to go to the Super Bowl or playing in the Super Bowl. Now all of a sudden he loses a Super Bowl and he's falling off of this cliff of the GOAT chase. Let's be realistic.
People are already
I don't
saying
even
that
think he has to win 7 Super Bowls to be the GOAT. He needs to win more, obviously, but I don't think he has to, like, get to win 7 and win more than 7 to pass Tom Brady and at the end of his career. But the pace that he's on is, I'm not saying that he's going to become the GOAT. I don't think he's the GOAT now, but it just, we need more longevity, but I'm not
see it though.
Turn around and
you can see it. Like, you can see the potential. That's what you're saying.
He's more talented than Tom Brady ever was.
Physically, absolutely.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, he needs Andy Reid to stay on the sideline for all the things that we could see happen. He needs it. He needs Spags to not retire for a while. More than anything, though, I would say he needs to get an offensive line together because the Eagles they literally unlocked the key. They found a way there. That O-line has some clear issues, but we've noticed that over time. This was just, hey, that defense is too good for you to get away with that.
Speaking of Brady and Mahomes, when they faced in that Super Bowl, it's eerily similar. Like, it was just relentless, like, just suffocating defense at the O-line. And then the next year, the Chiefs went and addressed their O-line. It's one of those. This was eerily similar. If you just watch it, this defense just shut Patrick Mahomes down, harassed him all game. And yeah, they absolutely need to do that. Them moving Joe Thuney into moving him. Where do they move him from tackle to guard or guard to tackle?
Guard to tackle.
Yeah,
and he needs to stay on the inside. That's where they got hurt so bad in this game. Sweat just dominated the inside with him not present.
Yeah, so that was clearly a mistake that I don't agree with that, where you try to fill a hole, like, fill a weakness, and now you have two essentially weaknesses. Like, when you move a guy outside of his position in the Super Bowl, like, that's an odd choice. But I also think that there were other things. This is not the sole reason why they lost, was that decision there.
No, absolutely not. We genuinely just ran into a team that's humming. They just didn't lose for the majority of the year.
Realistically, too, like, maybe I just wasn't, like, paying close enough attention to it because they were winning all of these regular season games. But, like, when you really think about it, and it was glaringly obvious when I'm watching, these two teams play each other in the Super Bowl, I'm like, man, obviously this Chiefs team has guys, but this team just doesn't feel very talented. Like, I'm watching an old, washed Travis Kelce DeAndre Hopkins may as well not exist. Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy that you're trying to get targets to. If it's not for Xavier Worthy, again, his 8 targets, 8 receptions, 157 and 2 touchdowns. The next was Travis Kelce, who had
yards.
4 catches for 39 yards. And then it's D-Hop with 2 for 18, Smith-Schuster with 2 for 16. Like, these are not dudes. And then you look at the other side of the ball, both offensively and defensively for the Eagles. And again, big credit to Howie Roseman there. But, like, they just have dudes in each place. And on the other side, especially when your offensive line isn't doing anything for you, it's still really just Pat Mahomes. And in this case, Xavier Worthy, I think, is clearly going to be a dude for them moving forward. But I think they have a lot of things, especially going into next season. D-Hop isn't a guy. Travis Kelce, sorry, he's not a guy anymore. There are, crucial holes that need to fill. You need to get Patrick Mahomes was their leading rusher. Okay, he had 25 rushing yards, and he was fighting for his life the whole game.
Then
Samaje Perine ran for more yards than Isaiah Pacheco, and he had 1 carry for 8 yards. You know what I mean? We have to do something else here.
Yards, he actually has a negative rushing total. So, like,
exactly.
It's
and
bad.
so there was a disparity there that was, like, I think more glaring given that matchup that I don't think we really saw during the regular season, just because of their regular season success and because in the AFC they own the AFC. But then you go up against a team like the Eagles, who just has dudes at every position. There's nothing you need to do. So they have their work cut out for them for sure. And whenever you have Pat Mahomes, like, you're never out of the race by any means. But if they want to get back to Super Bowls and start winning them again, they have a lot to address.
Yeah. And but the whole reason, Jameson, to respond to what you said, it's the Mahomes effect. Every one of us last week said, we're not betting against Mahomes. It didn't. That was our attitude going into it. No one wanted to say the Eagles were going to win this game. Even though if you look on paper, clearly the much better team at every level except for one, and that was quarterback. But because he was so good, we are willing to look past it because they've actually won Super Bowls with a less talented roster. I think in every Super Bowl they've won, you could make that argument. For the most part, you could make the argument the Eagles a few years ago. That Eagles team, I felt, had more talent on that roster than the Chiefs did. The Niners, twice. I feel like the Niners twice, both times, probably had more talent on their roster. If you go position by position group, probably had more talent. But we were unwilling. We were unwilling to say it. But you watch it, and you're like, oh yeah, no duh, this happened because this was the one time that it finally made sense, right? In all of the Mahomes games, it finally made sense for the team that was more talented to win. And that just shows how incredible he is, how talented he is, and why we're talking about him in these ways that we are with Tom Brady, Joe Montana.
Yeah. And I do want to say that we've known how to beat Patrick Mahomes, right? Tampa Bay showed it.
Yeah.
You keep your ends from getting too deep and you get pressure up the middle.
Yep.
And by the way, that is how you beat every quarterback in the league.
Find me one quarterback who can just stand interior pressure. Find me one.
It's interior pressure. And he panicked. He started panicking because that pressure was in his face immediately. And every quarterback ever has done the same thing. When you have giant 300-pound or 280-pound defensive tackles bearing down on you after a count of 2, you literally can't do anything about it. And as long as your ends aren't crashing down so people can roll out, you've got he can't go anywhere. And so he's got to get rid of the ball. And he's got to make a bad decision. And that's the whole point, right? So the Eagles fell back, waited for Mahomes to make bad decisions because they knew their defensive line was going to close that pocket, and he couldn't do anything about it. And that's how you beat Patrick Mahomes and every other quarterback that's ever played the game. Get your defensive tackles on the field and in his face. That's it.
Somebody asked Belichick how you beat a good quarterback after he had retired. So when we went into the retired thing, separated, whatever, forced retirement, he made this comment and he goes, you want to eliminate their ability to make a decision. The best thing that you can do is to erase the amount of time they have to make that decision. And so how you do that can come a myriad of ways. But consistently, it's defensive line pressure first because it takes longer to assemble a blitz. And it takes scheming. But if you can consistently do it with a front four and you're making them make a decision all the quicker, then this is how you win. Nobody's going to make a good decision in 1.3 seconds. That's not going to happen. And he goes, probably nobody's making a good decision under 2 seconds. And he goes, so if you can force them into that mode where they cannot think about what they're going to do, then you win. And consistently, that is how the Eagles did that clearly in this game. And it's how you're going to have to beat Patrick Mahomes, because he is the best decision maker in the league. Just hands down the best decision maker.
And to your point, they pressured him on 38% of his dropbacks, despite never blitzing. They didn't blitz once. Sent 4 every time. And they pressured him 38% of the time.
That is second most percentage rate for pressures that he's ever had in his career.
Yeah.
Number 1 was Tampa Bay.
Oh, come on. Best stat of the week. Holy cow, dude. Let's go.
That's how you do it.
By the way, Mike and I did not tee that off, by the way. We were not talking. That is 100%.
That was beautiful. And all right, nailed it.
I just want to give props to my wife. She's actually the one that brought that stat up to me.
So, hey, Tasha, thanks for throwing that in. So we get into the next conversation, guys, because the season's over. We are now in the period of mourning for this podcast and all of fandom. We have T-minus just under 6 months before we get to see anything of relevance. And that's going to
hibernate.
Legitimate.
Wake me up when football's back.
Wake me up when September ends. Come on.
Yeah. Hey, I sleep for about a month at this point, and then I start getting my draft juices going, and this is my favorite time. This is where I start.
That's true. I go
crazy for this part.
Well, honestly, morning Monday, as I believe it should be called.
Monday morning.
The Monday of morning has already come and gone now, as we're recording this on Tuesday, and it is officially lying season. Okay, you wake up on Monday and it's lying season. Last week, we saw, after the recording, we saw the trade requests start to come in. We did get to talk a little bit about Myles Garrett already, but we're now going and looking just in that whole conversation about what the Eagles have done and seeing the scheme that went and beat the mighty Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. We look at what's available for other teams who are in consideration. You look at teams that are a piece or two away. You look at and we're going to go right at the NFC Championship games. Obviously, Washington has a ton to do on the defensive side of the ball. You look at Detroit, who's going to have some pretty big holes to fill, guys coming off of injury. Yep. They're going to have some scheme things to address because they had a whole bunch of coaching changes. You look at the Bills for sure, who are clearly like a piece away. And so we start to ask ourselves these questions about guys that are becoming available. Who is interesting where? What's a fit? What looks like it should happen, needs to happen? And you have a lot of teams that seem to be a player or two away. There's a guy wearing a Rams hat on this call who's saying that right now. Hey, we just need a guy or two, and we can move some pieces around on a chessboard. There's a lot of teams in lying season that start to look real good. If you're a 49er fan like Mike and I are, if you're a Seahawk fan like Grant is, you're going, hey, we just need whatever X is and plus Y. We can be right where these teams are.
Yeah,
and we
played
all
the Eagles the
feel
closest, by the way. The Rams did. The only team to play into single digits in the entire playoffs.
Feel good about your loss, sir. Feel good about your loss.
Hey, the way that I see it, we're basically the second best team.
Basically.
Hey, love the mental gymnastics there.
Yeah, love it. But so we're looking at these pieces that are available. We're going to go over some requested, reported trades / cuts, some huge names. I already mentioned one of them that's at the top of everybody's list. Myles Garrett has requested a trade, is being actively shopped. That is obvious. The asking price is astro-freaking-nomical. It is
how many firsts? Two?
It's 2 firsts plus whatever else you got to throw in that puts you over whatever other teams are in runnings. There are rumors going around. I'm going to go through the list and we'll circle back here. Rumors going around about fellow defensive end Max Crosby and the Raiders potentially shopping him for around the same price, which totally makes sense. I think that's a 1A, 1B scenario. Obviously, all of us would take Myles Garrett over Max Crosby, but none of us would be sad about Max Crosby. No. In the wide receiver market, you are looking at age, big numbers, and some beat-down bodies, in my opinion, potential cuts and trade options. I'm including Deebo Samuel, which is widely publicized. Cooper Kupp, widely publicized, also talked about last week. Tyler Lockett with a $30.9 million price tag. That's going to be a post-June.
Yeah,
cut.
this is I'm in the same boat as Jameson with this one. He's one of those franchise, like he's a franchise guy, dude. We drafted him to return punts, and he became like the second best wide receiver in our franchise.
Yeah, the crying salute guy
Yeah,
meme is basically.
There is no way we're spending
go.
$30 million on a dude who had 600 yards and 2 touchdowns this year. That's not happening.
Nope. I love you, but this is a business at the end of the day. Also, Grant, nobody in this conversation and around the league would be surprised that dude takes the cut and then immediately signs a new deal with you guys.
No,
Nobody
I think
would
if I was to
express.
bet on one or the other, I would lean towards him coming back under like a much.
Or hey, let's just rework your deal. We don't even deal with this cut thing.
Yeah,
we'll
turn into
want
signing
you as
bonus.
Are you cool with being 600 yards again and 2 or 3 touchdowns, knowing that you're our 3rd or 4th target on this offense? Are you cool with that scenario? Because we're cool with that scenario. Lead our locker room in that unit, and watch.
He did it last year. Yeah, he's a great leader.
Yeah. And your coach said yesterday, I think, that they are looking at all options.
Yeah, everything's on the table.
The guy in the locker room. They don't want to get rid of him, but the price tag's huge. So they are looking for all options. So
you love that kind of coach speak. Legitimately, we all do, and we know that there's hope in those actual words. So
being clear that things can happen, but at the same time saying
I'm prepared for the worst.
Yeah,
prepared for the worst.
Yeah,
big price tags. Devonta Adams at $38.3 million, brought in by
quarterback money.
Brought in by Woody's
the
kids.
Last 3,
like legitimately just to appease Aaron Rodgers. So that's not going to happen. The Jets are not paying him 38.3. They're probably going to lick their wounds here, hand that contract off to somebody else. It's going to rework it and put the money on the back end to take him. But that cap hit's got to come down a whole bunch. That's a piece that's going to move for sure as well. Aaron Rodgers, 23.5. Jets are about to reload and reboot anyway. There's no real issue here. That's a June 10th drop, and you're good.
Yep.
There's no problem there for that.
You just did one of these.
Yep. No big deal.
Yeah, I think, and I think the numbers on the 2 of them together post June is like still 33 million when you combine them.
That's not bad at all.
And
like legitimately, if they just cut Devonta,
just do it.
That's not bad at all.
Because no teams aren't going to want to pay that. Like when you trade, you got to pay that.
Yeah, not a whole lot of guaranteed money left on either of those contracts. This is Devonta's last year, and Aaron Rodgers I think has 2. So, but it was all front loaded mostly. So, right, it's for guarantees.
Yeah.
So
Jets won't even be in a bad scenario.
No, they'll be okay.
They really won't. And then the last one on there, Kirk Cousins. This is a $40 million trade and/or cut. Kirk's going to come off. I don't know, man. I just don't see how he's getting paid $40 million by anybody next year. He's going to get cut, and I think the Falcons are going to lick their wounds here with the understanding.
$65 million cut.
Dude, hey, they're used to it, man. With Matt Ryan, they just perpetually make poor decisions.
Yeah,
and then cut their guys and just live with it.
Kirk
They're living
Cousins,
with it now.
You are a New Orleans Saint.
Battle it out. The
with
old
Derek
man
Carr.
battle down there with Derek Carr. See who gets to start.
If history's anything, man, he's going to get cut by the Falcons, get paid like $65 million right off the bat.
Yeah,
and then he's going to go to the Steelers
for $1 million minimum.
Yeah,
1.2 million.
There you go.
And,
Get him to the
I don't know if you
playoffs.
guys saw this while we're on the Kirk Cousins subject, by the way. He was basically playing hurt, but nobody knew. Like he showed up healthy, but he had hurt his right shoulder and elbow like in week 10. And then just like was not on the injury report. And everyone's like, this guy's playing terribly. What's going on here? And then, after the season ended, literally on February 4th, the report came out on ESPN that he was hurt. And so that's not great either. But that's
right after Achilles. Yeah.
That's and with that
stack
price tag, it's hey, buddy.
I don't know who the heck would want
but
that. I don't care.
Honestly, Steelers make sense. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that's bang on the money because Steelers it seems like they're parting ways with Russ, and obviously Justin Fields isn't a guy.
And that is just the Steelers move. Just try and find the most mid.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go over 500 in the regular season to maintain the Tomlin streak. We're gonna lose in the wild card round, and then I'm gonna keep my job.
And then we're gonna go find the next bad quarterback contract that's getting cut and pick that one up.
Yeah, we only play
after that, right?
Hey, that could be real.
That's later on. That's fine.
Yeah, he needs to be closer to 40. He's getting there, but he needs to be on the other side of 40.
So I want to go back through it. If let's just say who's a trade candidate on this list and who's not. Let's be realistic about that. Myles Garrett is absolutely a trade candidate, 100%. That is a tradable.
You
it's
are
tradable
a Washington
contract.
Commander.
Do it. If I'm the Commanders, I'd do it. I don't have to pay a quarterback for a fat
Look
minute.
at the cap hit. Look at the cap hit.
That's
19.7.
It's crazy because Miles Garrett's clearly, if you were to pick one of the Garrett or Crosby, you would take Garrett. And also, he is quite a lot cheaper at the same time.
Yeah. And he's flat out giving interviews where he's I don't even care about the money. I don't need to sign a new contract. I want to go win a Super Bowl. This is what this is about, right? And so you don't have to restructure the contract. You're going to hit $20 million for Miles Garrett. Any team in the league is going to be like, yeah,
yes. But we also, every team in the league would also pay $50 million for a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
And you are you're going to sacrifice here. Also, Miles has a say in where he goes. There is he has a no trade, and Miles is not going to a team that doesn't project to be a top 10 and a winning franchise. As Mike, you have pointed out many times, winning franchises don't trade number 1 draft picks. Like, they don't do that. There is one exception to the rule, and the guy on this stinking call cannot say that stupid comment that he always says about trading draft picks. But winning franchises don't trade draft picks.
Heck them picks.
Except for the one time that they did, and it worked. But with exception to that. Well, there was that. But legitimately, those teams aren't going to do it. Honestly, I don't know that they're going to get the 2 first. When I say that's insane, I'm not saying it's insane for Miles Garrett. I'm saying it's insane for winning teams. Jacksonville would pay that price, but he's not waiving a no-trade clause for Jacksonville. Oh, Carolina would pay that price. No problem.
They did for Brian Burns. Didn't they give up 2 firsts for Brian Burns a couple years ago?
Bingo. And if Brian Burns was worth it, this dude's definitely worth it. No knock on Brian Burns, but Miles Garrett's better than
Brian Burns is good.
Yeah,
you're right.
But the value on Garrett's just too high. Legitimately, he is a trade candidate all over the place. It's where does he want to play, and what's a team really willing to give up? I think that first this year and whatever is going to be the line, but I think it's the team that's willing to give up 2 twos. I don't think it's actually going to be the team that's willing to give up the second 1. I think it's going to be the team that gives up 2 twos. The value is there in the first. You get compensatory picks in the third from all kinds of different things in the NFL now. Legitimately, that devalues the second round, in my opinion, for sure. So it's the team that's willing to give up 1 plus 2 twos and blah, blah, blah,
I do think, too, for some of these teams, that top 10 teams that are looking to stay in the playoffs, hovering around 10, 11, 12 wins, this draft class has been talked about as the talent is not as exciting this year.
That was
because of the position.
And so a team legitimately a team like any one of our teams.
Yep.
If I've seen the trade of the Seahawks giving up DK and their first, the 18th pick, and maybe throwing in a fourth or something like that, I wouldn't hate that on my side of the ball, because what you're getting, and also just looking at this draft and where it's trending and what the needs are.
I've seen the Niners with Debo, the 11, and next year's second.
Yeah.
I've seen that one. That doesn't sound crazy.
No.
11's a high pick.
And again, it also helped the Browns need wide receiver help too. Also, it's not like there's need there as well. You have to look at the need of this team and what they're trying to fill as well.
And Debo doesn't come in. I'll just go down to him because we'll skip Max for a moment, because Debo's number is 15.8. And in the wide receiver market, that's just fine.
Bro, we've got guys making quarterback money, bro.
And he's on for 2 years.
Yeah, he's on for 2 years.
26.
Absolutely.
They're both about the same hit.
It makes way more sense for the Niners to get him off the squad on a trade than it does for a cut. That cap hit on him is not team friendly.
And to go off what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about, do you really want Debo in a trade? And we're going to talk about this with some of these other guys. He's lost a little bit of a step.
Sure.
Clearly, but he's still a bruiser of a runner. But for 15 or 16, let's say 16 million in the wide receiver market, he's worth it.
Absolutely.
We're going to look at some of these other numbers, say the Cooper Kupp number at almost 30, right? You're just like, do I want Debo or Cooper Kupp? Cooper Kupp.
The Rams would be keeping Cooper Kupp if he was $15.8 million.
Exactly. And that's what you're looking at right here. And the Niners don't necessarily want to get rid of Debo. Debo's asked to leave.
Yeah.
And they're
like, giving him an option.
Yeah.
Because clearly the plan for the Niners is that it's Ayuk, Jennings. Pearsall proved himself for sure. And now that the gunshot wound is healed, we expect great things. But legit, they've just made this obvious. And then when McCaffrey comes back and Elijah Mitchell's in the backfield, what are they going to do? All the weapons are there. So that one makes a lot of sense. He is a pure trade candidate. I don't think he's even a cut candidate personally, just because of what that cap hit would be to the Niners and the fact that they're just not going to let that dude walk. There's too much ability still to let him walk at that number. So there's great value in the number. Max Crosby at 27.9. The number's not the issue. The number's not the issue. It's the asking price. They're also going to be asking 2 1s plus whatever. And
they won't get it.
There's not a winning team. Also, he has a no trade clause, so there's not a winning team that's going to give that up and inherit $28 million from Max Crosby. And that's not saying anything bad about Max Crosby, but you can get 3/4 of that production off a rookie or a lesser known name, which we're going to go down to a few of those in just a minute in our free agent pool. So I don't think that Max Crosby is a trade candidate. He's a cut candidate, but they're not doing that, period. The cap hit would not be enormous if they decided for some reason to move on from his numbers, but $28 million for him when you've got Bosa money out there, I'm making a light comparison there, like all that kind of stuff, that it's good money. Yeah. It's good money for what you're getting in terms of production. So that one's kind of...
And also, who else are they paying? Like, they're
nobody.
Paying
and that's what we're looking at. He's on this list because you're having Pete Carroll come in, and we need so much. Yeah, new regime. Pete Carroll's looking at this team, and we are so devoid of talent on this team. If we can cut like this guy, who is our best defensive player, but if we can get a trade for this guy and get a couple good picks to help fill out our roster to make us more competitive, I feel like that's just a smart team move, right?
Well, and likely one of them being his replacement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in instead of they're drafting 6 and they need a quarterback. Period. Yeah. They need to find their guy. They are licking their chops hoping for Sanders at 6. That won't happen. But like they're hoping for somebody right in that vein, something that can be done. So I do understand exactly that. What you're saying there too, Mike. Like it makes perfect sense. They need the talent, but that's just not realistic in the market with his number attached to it, plus the draft picks they're going to want. Cooper Kupp is a trade candidate with a rework contract, but it's more likely at this point that he's a cut candidate. The separation's already happening from the team for sure, but without a rework deal, no one's taking Cooper Kupp at 29.7. Jameson just said if he was 15.8 million, he'd be a Ram.
Yeah, and my thing is too, I didn't talk about it because I wanted Jameson to say his piece with Cooper Kupp. I was like, every time that like the Rams like allowed Cooper Kupp to say that there's looking to trade him, every time you make that announcement, every time the announcement gets made, the team always loses leverage in that. Yep. They always do, because they know that if you're trying to trade him, but that means you want him gone off the team more than anything. That's your end goal here, is to actually get him off your books. And so we'll just wait till you can't find anything, and then we'll just go pick him up off that. And so I always thought that I didn't think that Cooper Kupp was probably going to get traded just because of how that transpired.
Yeah, and the scuttlebutt for a lot of these reporters right now is that the Rams have actually tried to sweeten the pot a little bit for trade talks, saying that they'll take a little bit of that cap hit themselves still to try and make the trade a little easier for a team.
Yeah.
And they want to do right by Cooper as well, right? But they also want to get something back for it.
What's his cap hit, Mike? On the cut. If he gets post June 10.
I can look that up for you real quick.
Sure, because to me, that's the interesting number. I think they're smart to say it when they said it. I think it's smart to even offer up whatever dollars to stay on their books just to get rid of them. That's all a Matt Ryan, if you will. A lot of teams started doing that post what the Falcons did with him and the Colts scenario. But yeah, you got to figure out what that number is. And
his dead cap's still 22.
So his dead cap's 22. If they're even willing to take 10, they're even willing to take 10 here.
Yeah.
And he becomes a $19 million receiver for a team that needs a possession guy. That makes a lot of sense. Under 20 million for him, and the limited amount of time if you're a winner. So, so let's just say it for this situation. If they take the 10, who's the ideal team? What 2-3 teams should be calling here? I got 2 on my list. Both of them are in the AFC. But what do you have that you think this? There's one.
Bills. Yeah.
Number 1.
What were those balloons, Matt? That's on your screen. Did you?
What? Oh, did it do the party thing?
Did you do it? I was like,
I think it did.
It's not. For a second, I thought that it was just me, and I'm like, what is happening?
We record on Zoom, for those of you that don't know. Yeah, the party feature, I think, just kicked in because I got too happy about that.
Last week, we also talked about the Texans potentially being a spot for something like that, just for a young quarterback to have a guy where it's okay.
I
Obviously,
was
it's not his number one, but
I always like the Commanders. I think that makes sense. I think that would make sense for a rookie
As a
quarterback.
possession guy.
I think he wouldn't be a rookie then, but
Yeah.
for Jaden Daniels, you got your yak guy and Scary Terry. You want something like that, some championship experience, because that team is young, so you need some veteran leadership. That's why they brought in Wagner last year.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I don't like it for $20 million for a team that needs that much on defense.
That's why I think they're going to do a lot in the draft. I think they're going to spend all their draft picks on the draft.
Yeah, like we said it last week. What do they got? 9 or 10 picks? All of them. Every single one.
Yep.
Don't even
Low-key,
question
if he was a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, I wouldn't be super sad about that.
They're going to move on from their number 2.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. Godwin's not. They don't have that money.
Baker's not making crazy money over there.
What's he like, 35, 34? Baker?
Baker's, isn't he between 25 and 30?
20, 25, 30. Or
Oh,
just above 30. I think it's 33 or something like that.
Okay.
But I could see Buffalo's like Mike, kind of like they should. I think there's another wide receiver in free agents that they're going to really try and get, or they should. One of those guys from Cincinnati. And then, but having a number 2 is not a bad idea because they need help. Number 2 also for the Ravens.
I was thinking the Ravens too. I was like,
Zay Flowers and Cooper Kupp could be a really good over the top and then through the middle for Kupp possession guy.
They need whoever can be a volume guy. That's what they need.
Keenan
I agree
Allen.
with that.
And Kupp has been that. He's been a volume guy.
But the Mark Andrews was a volume guy. You know,
but now,
if by the way, if they don't draft a tight end in the first like 2 to 4 rounds, holy cow.
for the Ravens,
Yeah, they got to do that. 100%.
I
don't
like
hate them
quite a bit.
What unlikely?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like him.
No, I like him too. But to me, more a playmaker than a volume targets. He had a couple games this year where he did take the volume, but he has that high reaching ability, especially a monster red zone target. Obviously, that's where the whole league has trended, is to have that monster red zone with one of your tight ends at least. But he is, and his hands are fantastic.
He's just not a big body.
Yeah. Should have won that week 1 game. Oh my gosh. Remember? That was 1 inch. Just
wear white
1
shoes,
inch.
man. Wear white shoes.
Wear white shoes. But no, I like Kupp, and I know this is an obvious choice. I like Kupp in Kansas City. Yeah. I do. It makes a lot of sense. They're gonna part ways with everybody else.
Season.
Yeah, they're gonna have Worthy and then an open cabinet. So
and realistically,
I don't know if Rashee Rice is going to be ready to go. Right? What didn't it end up being pretty bad?
Good point. I like that. That was way worse than they thought it was too. So maybe he's your insurance at the beginning of the year, get you past it. And he's a great locker room guy. And you don't mind the best quarterback in the league throwing balls at you. And you're Cooper Kupp, you're happy with that situation for sure.
We don't know how long Travis Kelce is going to stick around, but Cooper Kupp is basically like a wide receiver Travis Kelce, where it's like, hey, we're just going to play this 2-man game here.
It's fair.
I'm so smart at the position that I'm just going to find the soft spot, and you're Patrick Mahomes, so you're going to see me, of course.
Yep.
And I'm not going to be able to carry you like you did in 2021 for us, but he's still a guy who, when it comes to the postseason, you want that guy on your team, and the Chiefs are going to be there. It makes sense.
Here's a scenario we all hate seeing. Kelce standing next to Kupp in the slot position, Worthy out wide, Rashee Rice on the other side, open side with Pacheco in the back. Shoot.
Yeah. You're running like a
I don't want to see
Cooper
that.
Kupp and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes.
I don't want to see that after the bye week next year. No thanks. I have no desire to watch that football game.
And then Patrick Mahomes rolls out left. You have the entire field in front of him with those crossovers.
And whatever rookie left tackle they draft. Like, legit. That's terrifying. I want to get to a couple other names. Devonta Adams, as we already stated, not a trade candidate. Rodgers not a trade candidate. Cousins not a trade candidate. Nobody's paying him $40 million. Lockett, we already talked about the rework deal, so we worked our way through there. I want to get to the free agents and maybe some prospective places to land. Also discuss some contract possibilities. I'll name them. We'll go back through it just like we did earlier. A quarterback on the market. Nobody's going to move the needle like this in terms of the dollars. I do expect him to stay where he is. Sam Darnold. That's going to be a big contract, probably around 30. I think he's going to get a I'm looking down the sheet. I think he's going to get a Mayfield deal I
By the
really
way,
think he gets
Baker is
money.
making 30 even. Oh,
30
30
even. Yeah.
Okay.
And that makes sense. If you're the Vikings, 4 years, 120, probably 80-ish guaranteed, makes a lot of sense because really that averages out to 20 a year. That would be just fine. Should a major injury happen or something like that, you're good with all those dollars. That's the contract I've had in my head when I think about that and just look at the overall market. You can't justify more than that because basically he's only gone on a Baker run. Baker went on a run and then got a deal. That's all he's done numerically and just fell flat in the playoffs. That's right.
I'll push back on you a little bit because Baker had success with the Browns.
They did win
a little bit
game.
more sustained. Yeah.
They went to the playoffs. He won a playoff game with the Browns. And everybody was mystified why you even got rid of Baker Mayfield in the first place, right? Like we were like, we understand it, but at the same time, he's your guy. Like
this is the same organization, that did the Deshaun Watson deal.
Well,
so
that's what I'm talking about.
Sure, and you're not wrong at all, but I'll just push back. I think it's going to be the same percentage of the overall salary cap, and I know what you mean when I say that. That's what they're going to do that deal for. Is it's the same percentage of salary cap move because Darnold's going to get that. The salary cap's already improved for almost $40 million since Baker signed his deal. So it makes perfect sense that Darnold gets in there when he really probably deserves a $23 to $26 million deal. It's probably going to be closer to that 30 and that, or just over, just to get him signed. And there's fake money attached to anything over $30 million a year for this guy. When I say fake, we're talking void money. We're talking like incentives he can't hit. That kind of crud. Like, if you throw for 5,000 yards, here's your
5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns.
Stuff on the fourth year that they can literally cut him like at the end of the season on the third year and not even have to pay him. Yeah.
Zero guaranteed on the fourth year. He might get one of those deals. That kind of crap.
I'm going to push back against a little bit on that Sam Darnold. Not that he doesn't deserve it. I think he played fantastic and he deserves to get a contract. But they just got a first round QB in Minnesota, and he got injured. They like him a lot. And I don't know if he's going to get like a 4-year from Minnesota. I think that's going to be part of the hitch on it. Is Darnold's going to look for that 4-year. He wants to go do that. Somebody like the Raiders or something is going to give him a better, sweeter deal. Not going to be a better place to land, obviously. But I think Minnesota looks at him and be like, we can get you 2 years. I have this kid. We want to get out.
But I don't know.
Peace and love. The Raiders aren't signing him. They're going to draft a quarterback. They're not signing him. Pete's not.
If Shedeur and that other young kid are both gone by 6, what are you going to do? There's no other quarterbacks in this draft that are worth it.
Not at that spot.
Like the kid out of Miami and then Shedeur Sanders. Those are the guys.
Cam Ward and
the third guy is probably like Jackson Dart, but he's not a third. He's like a third or a fourth rounder.
That's when you're honest with yourself and you say it's not our year and you move on. Like you move on, but you're not going to throw $100 million at him. Him being Sam Darnold, if you're the Raiders. That's just not happening with Pete Carroll at the helm.
No, I get that. I was using that example, right? I just don't see Minnesota offering 4. I could see somebody else offering 4.
So
more like a 260.
Okay. My question is
in Minnesota.
Okay. That's fair. But my question is, who's competing? Who's the competition for the Vikings? Who's literally going to go sign him? And if you look at the market, even the bad teams, a lot of the bad teams, I'm including Jacksonville, I'm including Carolina.
They don't need quarterback help.
Don't need quarterback help. And the ones that do are drafting above the Raiders.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of competition. I do think that the Vikings get the team-friendly contract. I really do. I think they get it. And I don't think there's going to be – I don't think there will be much of a challenge. I think McCarthy's farther away than we think he is. I really – name the guy that went and jacked up his knee and then came back and played great when he'd never played a down in the NFL. Holy cow, dude.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And that's a 14-win team that just needs a guy to get him through the season.
Yeah.
So to me, there's and honestly, we are only talking about one quarterback too, by the way. There is no other quarterback that's going to help set the market. So I also think he has that going in both in his favor and his detriment. I think it's a team-friendly deal with that 4th-year option being fluff. And I think everybody's okay with that. The NFLPA likes that. His agent's going to love that. That it just makes everybody look good. So I want to get down to the list because the wide receiver market, as you have already pointed out, is very interesting because there's a whole bunch of big names on it that have been big names. One guy that's clearly better than the other ones, who's going to finally get paid, probably quarterback money as well. But we've got Amari coming off of Buffalo. That's in my opinion, the least talented player on this list currently. That's maybe up in debate. You've got Diggs in Houston, Keenan Allen, who can still play football. I don't care what anybody says. And then highlighted this class is by T. Higgins, who's going to get all the dollars. Back up the Brinks. He's getting the money. And his tag, by the way, I don't know if you guys have like really looked at this. His tag's 20.9. So there is still a world we live in where the Bengals tag him again because, honest to God, they're going to have to pay or get lucky in the draft somebody at $20 million anyway. Well, so why wouldn't you just pay him?
And he had said his preference is to stay. Now, granted, a lot of that could be smoke and mirrors. But
good teammate.
But he had said he loves the coaching staff, loves the training staff, loves the city.
Loves Joe Burrow.
Loves Joe Burrow.
Amen.
He said all that, I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
But again, everybody says a whole lot of stuff this season.
Buying season, bro.
As you said. So who actually really knows? But I wouldn't shock me if they just tag him again.
Yep. And they totally can. I think Amari's going somewhere probably what we're going to say is insane money for Amari right now, probably in the $17 million range with a single year attached to it. Diggs will get another shot with somebody, maybe in that same range.
He's crazy.
He was insane. But
somebody's
going to pay him.
You're rolling the dice with that guy. That's all I'm saying.
Plus the injury. Mm-hmm. But somebody's going to pay him. Keenan Allen's going to be in the same vein. All three of those guys, 1 year, $17 million.
And Keenan Allen's going to catch 80 balls for just about anybody. It's just the guy he is. He's not going to score touchdowns, but he's going to catch 80 balls.
And I want to point this out to you guys because you brought this up earlier. That is a Raven.
Yeah, there you go.
That's that guy. When I looked at this list, I was like, oh, obviously they take T. Higgins all day, and that would be a better deal. But Keenan Allen is a Raven. And that makes way too much sense. If they go sign one free agent this offseason, it's to deal with that issue, and it makes perfect sense. Everywhere else, they're just reloading. Everywhere else. So I think that makes perfect sense for them. And they've done it before. That's the Odell deal. It was right in that same look. I think it was at a 1 year 15 or 1 year 18, something like that. Right? Like they're not scared to go sign a veteran receiver. It's all the same. It's same GM. It's the same head coach. It's all the same decision makers. I think they could go do that again. But that market's going to be really interesting, and T. Higgins could literally reset what it means to be a wide receiver in the NFL. That dude has done nothing but high production. The other one that we're not mentioning, because I think he's restricted, is Godwin restricted?
Yeah. He wasn't on the this is undrafted or unrestricted free agents on this list.
Yeah. But somebody's going to bid for Godwin pretty high, and I would imagine that the Bucs are going to have to make a really hard choice there too. Yeah. That does make a lot of sense.
The one team that we haven't really talked about for any of these guys, and I could see any wide receiver we've talked about going to this team, is the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers could take any one of these wide receivers and be happy. Besides Keenan Allen, who doesn't want to go back there.
I don't think they'd take Diggs. I think that's a culture killer.
Okay, you're
right. That's a Harbaugh.
Right.
That's a Harbaugh.
Harbaugh culture killer. Yeah. Not taking Diggs.
This reads Amari Cooper.
I like that.
Cooper. Like that makes like that dude does not say a word. He just plays ball.
Yep.
Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, or Tyler Lockett. Harbaugh would take any of those guys, especially the top two. Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp. Harbaugh loves blocking wide receivers, and both those guys can do it.
I don't hate that.
Start thinking about that, if you start thinking about that, it just hit me as we were talking about this. I was like, the Chargers would take any of these guys, except for obviously Diggs and Allen. And they need a wide receiver bad.
Can we not point out why? And all of us just laugh. If we were watching Ladd McConkey and Cooper Kupp play next to each other, we don't need to say why. It's just funny, and we all know why it's funny. Just going to leave it right there, and everybody back up, and let's talk about linebackers.
But right before we leave wide receivers, I do want to lament with our friend Jameson here that he has had the best names in his wide receiver room for a long time. Tutu Atwell is also a free agent, and you've got Cooper Kupp who's leaving, and then you had Puka Nacua, right? So you had all those great names that are just fun to say. You're just down to one. So
I know.
He's going to figure it out. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah. Anyway, that was silly. Go ahead.
Dude, not wrong, though, because it's never boring over there. That's totally true. So on the market, Dre Greenlaw from San Francisco coming off the Achilles injury, obviously came and played a couple games that were inconsequential.
And it looked like he was still balling.
Yep. Still and played really good. The Niners just shut him down, rightfully. Zach Bond coming off, as we already mentioned, fantastic season for Philly on a one-year deal. Going to get paid, and Washington better pay him.
I would love
keep saying every time we
agree with you at all.
I would love for Zach Bond to join our defense. That would be so good.
I will not
I think anyone.
Bro, if Dre Greenlaw goes anywhere, here you go. Zach, come on over. I think the Niners are probably going to draft a guy in the 3rd or 4th round. I really do.
Yeah.
That's where they like to get linebackers and where you get a lot of value. But yeah, dude, I think anybody should want Zach Bond on their team. Those two are really the big name market right now. Dre's expected to re-sign. A little bit different scenario. There's
pushing
strong
for
mutual interest. Yeah. They brought in bringing back Saleh. That is Saleh's dude. He loves him. And
him. Yeah.
He was the guy that pounded the table for Dre. He pounded the table for his work partner in Fred Warner. And there's no world they live in where they don't want to make that happen. That could be a 2-year deal. The Achilles injuries probably is making it a 2-year deal rather than a 3 or even a 4. Because you think about what Dre could have been with a Super Bowl ring on his finger. That dude's probably going after $80 million this offseason if he doesn't tear that Achilles and stays in that game, gets his team dubs. That should happen for both sides. That one we're expecting.
And Greenlaw's using the unfinished business line.
Oh, yeah.
Right? These are my boys. We have unfinished business. And part of that's because something stupid happened to me in the Super Bowl.
But Zach Bond, that Zach Bond scenario, again, totally different.
Anybody.
That was a 1-year deal. Anybody wants him, go pay him. And he's going to take the big paycheck. He deserves it.
He'll be making more than Fred Warner. He'll be the highest paid linebacker in the league.
So. Right now, in the top 10 corners, or PFF ranked corners in the league, Charvarius Ward's the only one on the free agent list. He will not be in San Francisco. No. And I'm going to be a little bit sentimental when I say this. So this is a serious moment on the rare serious moment on the podcast. He lost a child during the season.
Yeah, it's tough.
And and Charvarius does not. He said it's literally hard for him to wake up in the place where his daughter passed away and to be in that state, to be there and have to fly out to San Francisco and be reminded of that. And so for him personally, it's just I need to move on to be healthy, and everybody's going to respect that. So he's going to go somewhere else and play good football for sure, but he's going to move on. And there's a lot of destinations for him. He could land anywhere. This is going to be a dude that finishes in the top 15 corners this next year for sure. And he is also somebody who can play on an island. And there are just few of those guys across the league. So he's going to have a home. He's going to make double-digit millions of dollars, probably in that 15 to 20 range. Just to be honest, he didn't have that standout year like he did with Kansas City before he came out to the Niners. Still had a solid year. He did miss a lot of time this year. So there will be
family stuff.
But yeah, he's going to get paid by somebody to go work. On the defensive end market, some pretty good names. Khalil Mack is on this list. Chase Young, again, on the list. DeMarcus Lawrence on the list. Those are big names. Also, guys that have not home run hit when it comes to production.
Everybody on this list has at least 8 sacks. That's why I put them on here.
Yep, and it's
so
fair.
That you still want these guys.
Hey, Matt, can you say this name? The defensive tackle right
Not going to do it. That's not going to happen.
No? Okay.
Nope. I'm not going to say that. Mike's going to say that in a moment. But I wanted to get to the last one on the defensive end side. Josh Sweat, who we already mentioned today, 2.5 sacks in that Super Bowl. Also expected to get paid.
Yep, he earned himself some extra money from Sunday.
He's in the projected contract for him is also a 4-year and in the $20 to $23 million range. Does not have the career stats to justify anything higher than that, but he's coming off a fantastic season, and
but also is only 27.
Also 27, so he's going to get the 4-year deal. That's going to happen. And but he was definitely an MVP candidate in that Super Bowl. 2.5 sacks. 100%. They were tossing his name around when they were selecting who the MVP was there. But yeah, I think realistically, nobody's making more than sweat off of this list.
No.
The other three names, Mac, Chase Young, Lawrence, all probably headed to 1 or 2 year deals. Chase Young might get the 2. I don't even know if Lawrence is going to get a 2. But I expect 1 year deals, most likely for all three of them on some prove it scenarios where you got to just say, hey, the production's still here. Mutual interest in Mac going back to the Chargers. That's already been a thing. Chase Young
he's 33.
Yes.
But he's
old,
only
so
almost, we didn't even talk about this. Talk about even a year ago. He had 17 sacks a season ago.
Yeah.
It's his career high. So he's not far removed from elite production.
No, he's
No.
and they're on. I put him on the list because people want these guys. You still want these guys, even if he's 33, couple of years, 1 year, whatever looks like. You still want this guy on your team.
Tell me if I'm wrong though, but Mac is 100%. I know he's this guy. He gets them in chunks. Did he not have that 5 or 6 sack game against Arizona or something like that to start the season last year when he had 17?
Something like that. Yeah.
Outside of the one game, it was like around 12 or 11 or 12 for the rest of the year, which is not
still
bad
great.
number.
Which
Still
is
a
still
good
great.
number. But he does get them in chunks. He beats down on a team.
Feast or famine.
It is a little bit that with him, but that's to be expected for a guy playing at his age and his level like he has.
Chase Young's the same way.
Yep, same thing.
He'll eat up on a couple of teams and then not do anything for
Awful against the run. My Lord, is he bad against the run. 49er fans remember certain things happening when he was supposed to have outside contain many times. DeMarcus Lawrence, that's an age issue, 100%, but still can fire for you. I don't expect him to be in Dallas. Young's not going to be in New Orleans, but there's probably several good fits for both of them. Mike, would you please tell us who the lone defensive tackle on this list is? Because I'm not going to pronounce this name.
He played phenomenally for Dallas. I hate saying
he
the
did.
Dallas word, but his name is Osa Odigizua.
Yes, it is. Good job. I know who Osa is. I listened to Tony Romo slaughter his name on national television, and I already suck at names. No, Osa's going to get paid. He's going to be in the $12 to $14 million range, probably per year. And he's looking around that 3-year marker. Doesn't have crazy high stats, but great in the middle in terms of pressure, both pressure and, has a great run stopping PFF grade as well. Somebody's going to pay him, and rightfully so. Wherever he lands, that's production, as long as he doesn't sit on a fat contract and eat a bunch of Cheetos. But that dude seems to have a fantastic motor. The 2 safeties on the list, Justin Reed from Kansas City and Tuloa Hufanga from San Francisco. Both those guys going to get paid for sure by somebody. Hufanga coming off a couple of injuries, has missed a lot of time for the 49ers, but we have seen him ball hawk and murder human beings. Justin Reed has been solid for a defense that genuinely struggled in the secondary a few years ago. Has been a good player for them consistently. I think Reed is probably, I think he's in that $15 to $17 million conversation. Hufanga's going to have to sign for a bad team to make 15 to 17 million, and probably for a year less than Reed. So if Reed's getting a 3, he's getting a 2, because Hufanga just hasn't played the snaps. But those are both killers when they're on the field and do a great job in coverage as well. Hufanga, awesome run stopper. So
he's got that jump the line mentality, just Malu.
Big arms.
Like best friends, by the way. Justin Simmons is also a free agent. I forgot to put him on here. He only had the 1 year in Atlanta. And I wanted to use him just now is because Justin Simmons proved that the safety market's really down.
Because he signed super late.
He signed way late and not for a lot. And Simmons is good. And so
he's consistently been like an underrated, top tier safety.
And I saw him, and I think I just ran out of time. I forgot to put him on here. But yeah, he's a free agent as well. And so you're looking at those 3, and you're like, okay, Simmons might be the top.
Yeah. No, he would be on that list.
And he still didn't get paid all that much. And nobody seemed to really want him. And so you're just like, okay, so this safety market is way down right now. So Hufanga and the Niners are looking at each other like, you might still just stay. KC might be able to do the same exact thing. And that's what I'm looking at. And Simmons might go find something because he proved himself like, hey, I'm still good.
Yeah, Simmons, it does not seem like that was a good marriage in Atlanta at all. But there's a scheme fit issue there for me. When I look at him, there's going to be plenty of opportunities. Teams looking for a solid safety. Again, nobody's getting more than a 3-year deal, but they could all stick into that vein of $17-ish million on the top end. Hufanga, again, I think is a 12.
Yeah.
And
I think you might
Simmons,
take a hometown
though,
discount.
Simmons, it just really depends on the value. None of us would be surprised if it was 3 years and 50, though. That wouldn't shock us. I'd love to see him get that personally. He's absolutely worth it.
Let him go to Buffalo for that. I don't care. That's fine. And they might do it. And they need a new safety, right?
Yeah. Yep. It'll be interesting to see in lying season what happens. We are planning an episode to discuss what has happened, what could happen after free agency comes out and about. And so we'll try and add that to the repertoire, go over some more of this, go over what we predicted would happen, because we know that there's going to be a lot of signings in those first 10 to 14 days as teams really try and ramp up the squad after doing the combine evaluations, which are just coming in the next 10 days, I think. I think combine's coming real quick. That's how it always works, within around that 2-week marker of the Super Bowl being completed. And then you're going to see teams make signings based on what they saw at the combine and as they're game planning their offseason. So it'll be interesting to see where some of these pieces fall. Most of the people that we just talked about will not be signed in that period. Most of them. Most of these players are veterans, and I think the veteran market just does not move, as we were just talking about with Simmons, the way that it used to. So you're going to see a lot of these dudes, with a few exceptions, still sitting there available mid-March, even past the draft, where nobody's picked them up yet because they're hoping to get certain things taken care of via that before they go and spend $20 million on a receiver, hopefully not that much on a corner, whatever, or a defensive end. So that'll be interesting to follow.
The market opens on March 12th, so almost exactly a month from the time we're recording this. And the cap is expected to go up to 275, which is a $20 million increase. That's what's expected to go up. So that's a whole other player or two for teams to, work with.
And with the top 51 only counting against that cap, and the way that negotiation happened between the PA and the league a couple of years ago, that 25 really does, or 20 million is really going to stretch. Yep. We've seen that, these insane inflated numbers, plus the allowance for void years on contracts is just opening wide what you can do with restructuring and handling your veteran deals. Makes 4-year contracts often become 7-year contracts for a good player. So I watched that as a 49er fan several times over. And there's a lot of these that you could talk about, by the way. I was not surprised. I'll just mention it for Mike's sake, that Kittle's already working on on a new deal. And they're talking about something similar to where he just had, which would be around that $3 and $50 million deal. As mentioned for Simmons, he's looking at something really similar, I think, as well, about $17 million per, maybe capping out at 60 with a void year attached to it, possibly. But that was pretty interesting to see that one already come around. But dude just had one of his best seasons, so not overly surprising from our perspective. Plus, blocks like a madman. We won't be sad that he's out there for 3 more years for sure. But there will be a lot of that going on too. So if you've got a guy on with 1 year left on the deal and you're looking at your own squad going, man, I wonder if we're gonna, probably, man. That's the way it works. If the dude's good, yeah, probably. They're going to work on it. But what they got to get through, and you're going to watch all these teams navigate, is who are we picking up in this draft? The draft is everything. That says who we're going to re-sign, who we're going to restructure, what positions we're going to fill in free agency. It all comes down to the draft. The draft is the game. And teams have budgeted, yes, for some free agents and all that stuff. And you hear that talked about. Yeah, we budgeted for free agents, but the but comes into play, and the but is going to happen at the end of April, and we're going to see a whole bunch of things shape up. I want to get to a couple other things before we end this episode and take our long break. One is I want to say that I missed just one of our prop bets last week with our buddy Brogan on the episode. If you were paying attention, the heartbreaker out of all the prop bets that were non-football was the national anthem. We'll start there. That sucked. It was 120 seconds, or 120.5 was the over-under. John Baptiste finished at 119.3 or 119.7, something like that. Literally had a second under. I took the under on that. Grant had the over. I was just scrolling through. Mike, did you take the over?
I took the over, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I think everybody did except for Jameson. Yep. Yeah, so me and Jameson, that one we were 2 and 3 on collectively. The other one was the coin toss, the literal 50-50. I did Tails Never Fails. It was Tails Never Fails. Grant joined me on that one. Of course, Jameson had to be different at some point.
Spiritual zag on the coin flip.
Yep.
I was with you. I was with you, Jameson.
Brogan's theology was correct. He went Tails. We went 3-2 on that collectively. Kendrick Lamar total songs. The over-under, I believe, was 10. Yeah, it was 10. And I took the over that it hit at 11.
I thought the over-under was 11.
Am I getting it one off? Oh, I am getting it one off. My bad. It was you were right. It was 11. He did 12. He was one over.
Okay.
That's what I read.
I was going to say, I said he would play 10 songs.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
I honestly, the way some of the beats flowed together, it was genuinely to tell. If you're not a massive fan of his, like, I can honestly tell you I've heard 3 of his songs. Like, I
knew 2 of them. So
yeah.
And one of them was the one where he smiled. That was one of the ones I knew.
Best moment of the Super Bowl.
That was my second favorite moment of the Super Bowl.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, you can.
Since we're right here. His pants, I'm pretty sure your sister owned the same pants in 2000.
Yes.
My wife and I had this
You got the
conversation.
flared jeans.
My sister did own those.
I'm almost positive. I was like, I'm pretty sure I saw Karen in those jeans in high school.
Yeah.
Almost positive.
Yes. My wife and I definitely also had a conversation about her looking at the screen going, are those American Eagle? Started busting up. But yeah, seriously, I know we're not going to waste a bunch of time talking about a halftime show, and because they get talked about every year. It was, in my opinion, I love production and the high level production. It missed on that for me. Obviously, it was pretty low key, but I will say, because I know the other opinions on the show, the choreography though was pretty dope.
The choreography was good. I like the stomp the yard style, walking all together, making the loud stomp noise.
It was good.
That's pretty cool.
It was good. Yeah. But I definitely, call me a dork, but like Katy Perry, that show was ridiculous. And I just compare the other shows to that one. Because
the Lion,
that was a good show.
The Roar,
so
good.
Yeah.
But if you're a rap fan, like, I get it. If this is your guy, I totally get it.
No, that's
don't hate on it at all. Like, it's just, I literally do not listen to music, like, at all. Anybody that knows me knows that. I play it all the time, but as all of these dudes have witnessed, I'd rather sit in the car and do what we're doing right now than listen to one song the entire time. And Grant and Jameson have something in their ears or playing aloud constantly. And both of them are fans of said dude. So,
yeah, it's usually him.
Yeah. So,
No, I loved it. But I also recognize that he could have literally done nothing. Like, he could have just been on like a circle stage and just done the songs.
He could have sat on a stool with a spotlight, and I would have been like cinema.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's no high level expectation.
No, like, just because, But I love the storytelling. I like that there was like thought provoking stuff in there. I'm always about those kinds of things. And so I think if you actually like are a nerd for some of his stuff and you read all the stuff and the reasons for everything, you appreciate it a lot more. But if you don't know the songs, or you don't listen to, you don't like rap, or you don't know some of the like stuff that he was doing in the show, you don't understand it, then you missed it. And you're like, oh, it was weak. The production wasn't, I would agree. Like, it was much more simplified than what we've seen of other shows and stuff like that. But
just comparing it to the last time, it was the slew of rap artists. I mean, just the production level.
The production on that one was insane. That was
50 Cent did that whole run upside down, bro.
Yeah,
shirtless. Yeah. That was impressive.
That one, the entertainment value maybe was more there or something like that. But like personally, this one was.
I think both Grant and I have also been like in that storyline of Kendrick, especially for the past like 6 months. Towards this was just like the home run. This was basically the nail in the coffin for a lot.
I will let all the viewers know that there is like a 15-year age gap between Matt and like you guys.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just
10 with Jameson.
Hey, I'm gonna be 30 next month. So
yes, he is. Yes, he is.
20. Yeah, we're both 40, so that I don't know if we really. But
I don't tell people how old I am, you jerk. No, I actually have on this once. I did drop my birthday week, so yeah. But no, I was just gonna say, if the music doesn't miss me, it's just I literally don't listen to it. But also, I thought it was cool for him just to point out you coming off the Grammys, and then that happens, and you've had just an insane year.
There may
Well,
not have
cool
been
for
a
him.
more insane year for a rap artist.
He just
ever.
won every argument.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, and then he's
All of
going to
them.
go on a world tour.
Yep.
He won
Right.
all of the arguments.
Yeah.
Okay, here's
Everything
how
that his songs were about. He just won them. So it's
here's how
okay.
hilariously little I pay attention to things. I did not realize, like, I've seen him on award shows and stuff, and it never hit me how short that dude
Oh yeah,
is.
he's short.
Yeah,
He's a little cutie patootie, dude.
Yeah,
He's a short
can't
king.
hide.
He's a short king.
Yeah. You can't hide when you're on a football field, dude. Everybody knows how big you are on a football field. So
lay down next to that 40 number, and he's like way small.
Yeah.
Like it's,
That's all right, dude. Yeah, he's 5'5".
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
like,
that's even
he's Lil
smaller than I
Wayne.
thought.
He's Lil Wayne height.
Yeah. All right. But I will say too, like, one cool thing as a performer, as somebody who sings, all that stuff. Hey man, you did exactly what you need to do for all your songs, and you didn't sound like dirt. You you hit what was it? We just said it out loud. Was it 12? It was 12 songs, and he had singing parts that he hit. Like, I thought it was brave to have the singing chorus and whatnot, and then the tagline that he was hitting, like 10 songs deep. Like, he had the highest notes. He hit 10 songs deep. I was like, hey man, good for you, because that's crazy on the arrangement. But I also understand why he was doing that song when he did it. It made sense. But yeah, it was overall though, like, for me, just a B- because I'm a production guy. Like, if I was grading it, but this wasn't Maroon 5. Okay. We didn't have Fergie on the stage, so it was definitely way better than that. Tonight's gonna be a good night when that chick isn't singing. Yeah, we don't have the gypsy. There's all that.
I will
he
say
put his
too.
figures out, but he didn't do anything with them.
I mean, I will say too. Apple Music's production, like their quality is way better than Pepsi. Like I always forget that Apple Music taken over the last like three years. Like the cameras are way cleaner, the picture quality is way crisper.
That was 8K, bro.
Yeah, dude. Like it looks way cleaner.
And then it
like,
immediately goes on to Apple Music, and I just watch it on my phone.
Yeah.
With a better mix, and I'm like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
That's how I watched it. Was on the phone.
Yeah. No, it was a good setup for that portion of it too. But it definitely I love the big hype stuff. So I've been literally, I know it's so weird to say, but I've asked for Katy Perry to come back. Like, I'm not a fan. But I would love for her to get to do it a second time.
Great entertainer.
Oh my gosh. I have, and I'm going to say this right here, and we're not going to clip it. Okay, Grant, I am trusting you. I've seen Katy Perry live. Like, I have.
I'm gonna clip this.
My wife was there. And dude, she hit a Whitney note that was like, it was pretty. And to close the show after she'd been singing for 2 hours. So yeah, I'm not a fan. It just happened to be I was in a place where she was performing, and I was like, we had an open night while we were on a trip, and it was like it was like a $50 ticket or something like that. And we're like, well, that's pretty ridiculous for somebody who's that good. And I was like, I bet it'll be a good show. You just want to go catch dinner and do that. And it was like, yeah, let's just do that. We're in vacation mode.
It sounds a little sus, but I'm just gonna have to take your word for it. Just leave it at that.
Everybody knows my wife. That's why that happened.
Yeah,
100%.
I feel like next year they're definitely gonna go they're gonna go the opposite. They're gonna do like a Taylor Swift. They're gonna go, what's her name, Sabrina Carpenter. They're gonna do something like
there is one name.
Oh, Charlie XCX. Yeah, they might do.
There's one name. If you're gonna swing the exact opposite, Chris Stapleton.
You could do country. They haven't done country in a while.
Who's gonna hate that Chris Stapleton's up there crushing? Because if you're like an R&B and rap person, when you listen to that man sing, you melt, dude. There's so much appreciation for that guy.
Yeah.
But if you like the style,
so buttery.
Oh, he's so good.
You go.
One of my favorite male singers ever.
Dude, Chris Stapleton could bring Beyonce on because she just got Country Artist of the Year or whatever, the new Country Artist of the Year. So
he doesn't need her. He has
has
JT. He has JT in the back pocket to sing Tennessee Whiskey. He's gonna go grab any friend of his that he wants.
I'd rather
and
him
also
do
the
it
musicianship will be
T-Pain's Tennessee Whiskey is pretty good.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, T-Pain can freaking sing.
Bro, they could do
that guy can sing.
Yeah, he can. Dude, I might do country. I'm surprised Post Malone hasn't already been.
He's got to be
like
out there.
He does like the YouTube tailgate, whatever.
He's done that a couple
for
times.
the Super Bowl. He did it this year.
Post and Stapleton together. Who's not watching?
He's doing all the country stuff now. Post Malone's doing all the country stuff now.
That would be awesome.
They can do what they did a few years ago with the hip.
We got ideas, Apple.
They just do the country version of that. Just bring out all of the
all the country guys.
Yeah.
Dude, give Chris a costume change moment and have Post.
Big fan of Garth Brooks on this. I'm a big fan of Garth Brooks. Let's do that too.
I thought he was dead.
No, he's not.
Bro, that's not happening for the Super
May as well
Bowl.
be.
Garth
No, dude.
Brooks. Yeah.
Garth Brooks,
May as well be.
legend.
Oh my gosh. Hey, before we close it up, responses, because also this last week in the world of football, get back to real like football hard hitting stuff here for a moment. There was a bunch of awards given out. We had some strong opinions. We were all shocked about one specific thing actually happening. But if you didn't pay attention last week, if you didn't just pay attention last week and you saw Matt about 8 weeks ago, that one looked real good. So I called my Josh Allen shot a fat minute ago, but dude, that was bad. That's so dumb.
The one thing I want to say, because obviously I had my big take that we
Yes,
thought
you
about,
do.
but
Yep.
we are also smart for Pat Surtain, Defensive Player of the Year.
Heck yeah.
But like that's the big thing that I was hyped about. Actually, no, I was
Saquon Barkley.
yes, that I'm still saying with that. But Kevin O'Connell for Head Coach of the Year, come on, dude,
I knew it was coming.
on.
I knew it
Dude,
was coming. We talked about it last week, and
Bro.
I was like,
It's so
The-
stupid.
who the quarterback was, like that's enough for the narrative for me.
To like redeem a dude who's been trash. Rookie quarterback, NFC
Yeah.
championship appearance.
I put it in your production notes. I said he coached Sam Darnold.
Yes. And that's what I was saying earlier this year too, when we were talking the way too early awards with Sam Darnold popping off. I was like, I think it would be more Kevin O'Connell's Coach of the Year more than it is Sam Darnold like MVP, because this guy was nothing in the league and now he's with this guy and then he looks good. So I get it. And again, the postseason optics definitely shift the award show, and that's always going to be the problem with
Clearly
the
not.
award. Because this is a 14-3 regular season team with Sam Darnold as the quarterback. And I get that the jump wasn't as significant as Washington. And I do think Dan Quinn, thank you, did a lot with nothing, especially defensively there, and then bringing in a rookie quarterback and doing that. And it's the Commanders, and they've been a tragedy of a franchise for years. But like, I got it. Like, I get why it's.
Here's my issue with it. Here's why I'm fighting it. Brian Flores won Assistant Coach of the Year. Like, dude, you're going to tell me that the best coaching staff in the entire league was in Minnesota?
That defense was decent.
Bro, they were incredible. Look at what they did with their defensive line. They traded their best defensive lineman, their best defensive player, or sent him down or gave up on him, whatever your term is, and let it go and put in a rookie and a backup and got the exact same sack production that Hunter did when he left. Legitimately, Brian Flores, 100% Assistant Coach of the Year. No issue with that at all. Although Spags could have probably won it too.
Spags or Kingsbury.
Yeah.
Those three.
Sure. And Kellen Moore maybe even on the list. No issue with any of that. But legitimately, Flores, we are shocked that Brian Flores isn't a head coach somewhere right now. I've been shocked. I said that when we were talking about the coaching hires. I don't know why Kellen Moore's getting the Saints job and Brian Flores isn't.
Maybe because Brian Flores is smart and doesn't want it.
I like that attitude, sir. But legitimately, you're not going to tell me the Brian Flores, who also, by the way, has already had a winning season as a head coach in the NFL and got screwed over by a stupid franchise down there in Miami, isn't a better option all over the place. Brian Flores, to me, is literally the reason they had those 14 wins. Look at their one-score wins. Look what got them those one-score wins for the majority. Yeah. It's a defense that got it done in the 2 minutes that matter in football. Legitimately, I'm no hate on Kevin McConnell. Quarterback whisperer. Absolutely. Fantastic play caller. Amazing play designer. Dude is creative as crud. But is he better than Dan Quinn right now?
I know,
but I get how you justify cases. I just disagree.
And you can, honestly, the way I look at it too, like year before, the Vikings won 7 games. They won 14 this year. Doubled their win total. Absolutely, that puts you in the case, puts you in the category. Dan Quinn tripled it. He tripled it.
With a rookie quarterback.
From 4 to 12, he tripled it. I don't care.
It's dumb.
That to me is the end of the conversation.
I will say.
That's not even looking at the playoffs.
Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold.
Yes,
for
and
sure.
That's my whole piece of the argument. 14-3 with Sam Darnold, and nobody.
14 with 3 Sam Darnold. That means something.
Yeah,
it does. And I'm not taking it away.
I'm not trying to disrespect Kevin McConnell. He's a great coach.
Bruce Arians taking Baker Mayfield and making him like a star again. He was in the running last year for the same award because of what he did for Baker Mayfield. And so you're looking at Kevin O'Connell got it this year because he held this team together after losing a top quarterback.
And honestly, that should earn Sam Darnold the Comeback Player Award. Okay, if
that award also sucks. It should be the most improved player award.
It's the dumbest award that there is. But legitimately,
it was cool when Gino won
it. If it was cool to you,
your mouth. I have no problem with it in 2022.
From the precedent that has been set, then give him that award. Give Brian Flores the Assistant Coach of the Year award, and then freaking move on because Kevin O'Connell did not do what Dan Quinn did.
I agree with you. I think it should have been Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn should have walked away with this. First-year quarterback in Washington, or first-year coach in Washington. He did this on his first year in Washington.
With the squad that he got handed, it's insane. And honestly, he also brought in a great coaching staff too.
Around talent levels.
Yeah.
Talent levels. I'm sorry. I'm taking the Vikings roster
every time.
Washington's roster.
Every time. All day, every day.
Like, Scary Terry.
Justin Jefferson? All day over Terry.
And here's problem. Oh, shoot. I did it again, guys. My bad. I did it again. I got all animated and freaked out. But legitimately, name them. Not Bobby Wagner. Outside of the front four, name a guy in Washington. My point.
Defense or any of them?
Yeah, on defense. We know offensive players because they score touchdowns. Okay, and I'm not saying they did a great job. We all understand the issues that they had, but putting a squad together that can put you in a position to win a game or to win games. This is a no-name offensive line. This is genuinely like Austin Eckler on his last leg, Brian Robinson dealing with injuries, really coming in and just going, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. And them doing it in an unprecedented manner with a rookie quarterback.
Winning close games also.
All the time. Dude.
Comebacks.
That kid had just had magic on him. We were tuning in every week to watch them play.
Yeah.
I wasn't tuning in to watch the Vikings play. I wasn't.
I think, if anything, maybe because again, I think with a lot of this stuff, we're splitting hairs because ultimately I agree. Maybe the narrative point here is Kevin O'Connell is an offensive-minded head coach and made their offense really good. And Dan Quinn is a defensive-minded head coach that the defense was still bad. They were just winning despite it. So maybe if you're splitting hairs, you say
on his side of the ball, he took care of that. The side that he specialized in.
His side of the ball was still not good. And maybe you say Cliff Kingsbury and some of your offensive talent, Jane Daniels, obviously being the guy, is what ultimately turned those things around. We would be able to look at that objectively and say, that's not true. There's more to head coaching than just your specialty. But
Cliff Kingsbury should have won Assistant Coach of the Year because Brian Flores did. And we're pointing at that. And I totally get what you're saying, though. I know you're making a case. And 100%. I'm not picking that apart. I'm just saying there's an obvious narrative that got pushed and we went a certain direction with it. And clearly
MVP, if you ask me.
Oh,
yeah, dude, for real. Because last year, Lamar Jackson's stats were down overall, and he still won. And if you look at the total overall touchdowns, Josh Allen had an insane year in terms of total touchdowns and yards. Last year,
rushing
he also turned the ball over.
But yes, he turned the ball over a whole lot.
He did.
But if you look at just if you're gonna look at box score, Josh Allen should have won it last year. Lamar should have won it this year.
Yeah.
Quick correction: AP Assistant Coach of the Year was Ben Johnson.
Hold on,
I'm on the NFL.com right now. AP Assistant Coach of the Year is Ben Johnson from the Lions.
Frick. I'm remembering that too, but legitimately, I can't do my thing.
Still great. Brian Flores was still great.
Brian Flores probably deserved it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
he was the defensive coordinator of the year. He just is.
Yeah.
On Josh Allen, legitimately, I don't understand how you justify it. It doesn't make any sense.
Did you see that somebody voted Lamar 4th place?
Yeah, and I'm with you.
Also just
I can't remember who said it, but take his vote away.
Same person who didn't, who kept Ichiro from being
unanimous. That's what I was about to say, dude.
Him, and this Lamar 4th place vote. There's clearly some sort of.
I know.
Need to get them out.
I know that we are predominantly football, like at 99.9%. But yeah, whoever that was that did not vote Ichiro in for unanimous Hall of Fame, I really hope that you never have to take a warm shower ever again.
Yeah. I was like, how hard do you want to go for him, buddy?
I hope your pillow is warm every time you flip it over. I hope it's warm. You can never be
I
comfortable.
hope you wake up
You got a
with
sweaty
sweaty
pillow.
legs for
Yeah.
the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, legitimately, and the cowardice, by the way, to not expose your vote, to hide behind your stupid press
Anonymity.
credential. That's so
Well, I'm just going to say,
freaking own it.
They did show a list of people who voted, one way or the other. And let's just say, if Emmanuel Acho votes for Josh Allen as the MVP, basically, I'm going to pick whoever he doesn't vote for as MVP because, come on. But also, the numbers were there. It's not like one saw much more success.
Let me
than
guess,
the other
Ryan
as far as
Clark
wins.
also voted for Josh Allen? Dear Lord.
I'm not
I
again.
can't believe so.
I understand it. I didn't want to see Lamar Jackson get it again. I'm
No,
like, come on,
none of us
Lee,
did.
like, Lee, get somebody else out there to undoubtedly the numbers and the games and what he did for his team. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He should have been the dude. Josh Allen, yeah, he put this Bills team on his back and he carried them because we were talking about how they were lacking wide receivers all year long. Like, I get it. But his numbers weren't even close.
No, and
The
I
only thing he led more than Jackson was touchdowns.
Rushing touchdowns. Yeah.
That was it. Even total touchdowns, he was less.
Yep.
So you're like, come on. You give it to Jackson because he's the best running quarterback in the league. So he comes out and he proves he's one of the best throwing quarterbacks in the league. And you still...
They just need the NFL awards needs to pick their lane. Are they going to go narrative or are they going to go stats? Because in some of these categories, they decide to go stats, who was the best, who had those touchdowns, yards, whatever.
Well,
and then
the
sometimes they go
defensive player of the year almost every year, sack leader.
But then it's like, oh, well, let's take this into account. Let's take the front office into account. Let's take each game into account. Let's take
It's the most
players around the
convenient
team.
thing for them is what they're going to do because
Yeah, it's insane.
Again,
Pick one or the other.
What
there
sucks
should
though
not be. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say what sucks is there is no criteria. It's whatever these people who are granted votes think. Two, most of these people are voting don't either know each other or there's no meeting of the minds here. They don't get into a room. These guys sit there and they watch tape and they evaluate and they say that is what it is. But everybody has a different criteria. So to your point, Grant, there is nothing that says this is what we do. It's some sort of narrative type of rule, and just whichever way the wind blows after you fart, that's where it freaking goes. Come on. It doesn't make any sense if we're not just being consistent with it, because you're right. All of you guys are right. And that's why I changed my perspective from where I was at 6 weeks ago. In particular, I thought, 8 weeks a little far, but about 6 weeks ago where I was like, Josh Allen just won it and it's over and it's over. I looked at the stats. I looked at the body of the work at the end of the season. How can you deny that touchdown interception ratio? It's insane.
So
10-1.
Ridiculous.
41-4.
One of the greatest single statistic. If you look at all the stats for all quarterbacks, and I understand we measure big numbers like yards and we measure big numbers in terms of touchdowns, and you want to give Peyton and Drew all the awards, got no issue with it. Love both those guys. Cool. Great. But when you look at the touchdown to interception ratio with 40 plus touchdowns on the marker, that's insane. Nobody in the history of the game did what he did this year.
And in every category, he was better than his first MVP season in 2019, which was like this phenomenal year, Madden cover, like all that stuff. And in every way was better. More yards, touchdowns. I think, except for rushing yards. He was down on rushing a little bit, but still had 900 or whatever he had.
But he got Derrick Henry. He didn't need to rush as much.
But I don't understand.
Yeah.
And also, Josh Allen's the first MVP to not be a first team All-Pro.
Yeah.
Since the 90s, 80s. Technically, there was the split, the co-MVP year where it was Peyton Manning and McNair at the time where they split it, but technically,
one of them was the first team All-Pro.
Yeah, first team. One of them.
Yeah, and the other was the second, and you were going 1A, 1B in that scenario. This wasn't A, 1B. Like Lamar gets it because those were historic numbers.
Yeah,
and no hate. By the way, like for everybody, this is not a hate on Josh Allen. We're not saying he's not elite. We're not saying he's not great. We're not even saying that overall we wouldn't want Josh Allen over Lamar on our teams. I think a lot of us would probably want Josh Allen over Lamar on our team. because wins are wins, and that dude can do it. Like, just look at postseason success. There's a little bit more there in his favor. So legitimately, I don't think that's much of a conversation, or at least it's not a huge one. But it's all about what Lamar actually did. It changed my perspective over the season. I think it should have changed the minds of everybody. Like, hey, this is just real, dude. And we need to continue handing this guy this award until legitimately he fails and goes to a subpar performance. If we want to just hand it out with the other narrative where, oh, this guy's the best player, well, we just give it to Mahomes until he's dead. But that's not the way the award works. Yeah. It's supposed to be the first team All-Pro, best stats, best numbers on the field, and that should have.
However many games are in the regular season.
And it's not a Joe Burrow situation where he did that on a bad team. This was still a good team, and everybody loses their minds over those back-to-back Aaron Rodgers seasons because of his touchdown interception ratio, his stats.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a season like this one.
Nope.
And the only reason we're not giving it to Lamar is because he's already won it.
He won it last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
give it to somebody else.
Really frustrating.
And I do want to say, you have that guy that voted on 4th place, which was the dumbest thing in the world. That could literally be the Buffalo Bills sports writer.
It totally could.
It absolutely, because that's how this works, right?
Should we not have there be like a committee like in college football?
Absolutely, there should be a committee, and there should be criteria in the committee.
They discuss it, and and pull, come together, discuss it.
I'm a big fan of governance when it comes to this because I don't believe that writers can be unbiased, and that shows in the MLB more than anywhere else. Because those people are the most pompous, ridiculous human beings you'll ever meet when it comes to how they vote and why they vote the way they vote and their philosophy. Like, who gives a crud about your personal? Yeah, shut up. That guy's literally a top 3 hitter all time. Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I do want to say, even putting guys in a room together. I'm going to bring up the next thing I thought we might talk about is Pro Football Hall of Fame class. Right? You get those guys in a room together and they vote together.
It's different to me.
How is Torrey Holt not in the Hall of Fame?
Don't even get me started.
He wanted to.
Jared Allen, fine. Antonio Gates, great. Sterling Sharp as the senior guy, great.
Makes sense.
I think this was Torrey Holt's last year to not be a senior member. He's going to have to wait even longer. And so you're just like, what are we doing? Like, how is he the only guy from that historic team?
Yeah.
And leading in yards for that team and not in the Hall of Fame? And by the way, after he left the Rams, still had a good career. What are they doing? So you have, even if you get all these writers in a room,
why can't he go when it's that small of a class? That didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You should be in there before Eli.
He's also 17th all time in receiving, and like the only people not in the Hall of Fame in front of him are guys like Larry, people who just haven't gone
yet. Because Fitzgerald is going to go in next year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Fitz is going in first time. Absolutely. Yeah. He's now eligible, and he absolutely deserves to go in. But next year's going to be big. It's going to be big, dude. That is stacked. We could read the numbers or read the names, but legitimately, Eli not getting in shouldn't bother anybody on the first run. He's going to get it.
No. I didn't want him first round.
But he's not a firster. You'd be going on your name alone. I'm not saying 2 Super Bowls is not an accomplishment, but for the love of God, he doesn't have the stats, and his touchdown interception ratio is absolute garbage.
Oh, so, he has the worst touchdown interception ratio.
It's bad.
So bad.
It's so not good. He threw too many interceptions, and I'm not even counting the fumbles. Like legitimately just so many. But I didn't have a problem with any of the guys that got elected. Would just love to see more. There's just so many dudes that deserve to be in that, and I understand the Hall of Good, but Torrey Holt leads a slew of human beings. There's so many names that could be in on this class that I think deserve some real consideration. And that was a bit of a bummer. There was a bigger. This could have definitely been an 8 to 10 person class, in my opinion. I know that's big, but like it could have been. There's some guys that we need to start pushing them towards the end of that line. Eli's going to get in the next 3 years probably, and that's pretty fair. He won 2 Super Bowls. He defeated the greatest team in the history of the sport.
Dude, 18-1. He knocked down that 18-0 team, so got to give him props.
Yeah, so I no issue there, but it will be really interesting to see. I said to you guys, like, if Thomas Davis does not make the Hall of Fame,
bro,
I'm gonna lose my freaking mind.
I get that exclusivity is like the whole point, and there are some Hall of Fames that maybe are too inclusive in some ways, but like, I think we need to open things up just a little bit more, especially considering the talent that's about to be coming into the Hall of Fame. Again, you can't tell me a guy like Torrey Holt can't be in the Hall of Fame or is going to have to wait forever because, hey, guess what? All the people that his position, the league's in a different place now. There's going to be so many wide receivers eligible for the Hall of Fame moving forward, and he's just going to get left behind because why? It's a little ridiculous.
I don't understand it. And I sent you that text as soon as I saw it, Jameson, and we lamented a little bit, and I was like, I'm not even a Rams fan, but Torrey Holt deserves to be there. And
it's the greatest show on turf. You have to have those guys.
All of them, the whole crew.
Yeah. Yep. I've been pounding the table for that guy for years, and it just doesn't get anywhere. And
because here's who
everyone I
didn't
talk to agrees, and I don't understand it.
Yeah. Here's who didn't make it this year. Okay. One more time, Mike. You want to give the 4? My bad.
Yeah, like Jared Allen, Eric Allen, Antonio Gates, and Sterling Sharp. All of those I'm fine with.
Yeah, and Sterling Sharp again coming in as senior. Absolutely all of them.
Senior coming in the end.
Here's who didn't make it this year that could have been on this list. Darren Woodson, Reggie Wayne, Adam Vinatieri, Fred Taylor, Terrell Suggs, Steve Smith Sr. I know he loves it when people say that. We all the aforementioned Eli Manning. This guy named Luke that played linebacker for the Panthers.
Hughley? Yeah.
Yep. Torrey Holt. And then a couple of offensive linemen. You have, I'm going to say it wrong. I hate it when I mess up names. Is it Jari Evans?
Yeah.
I don't want to mess that up. And then you have Willie Anderson in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's I don't know. That's a can't miss. I genuinely, that dude deserves to be in there. But those guys, you look at those names.
How did Adam Vinatieri not?
Seriously.
Like, that's when also I go, what? Are you kidding me?
Super Bowl. Come on.
Like, the greatest kicker of all time? What?
And I'm going to agree 100% with Jameson that Torrey Holt should have gotten in before Reggie Wayne. That's now not going to happen.
No, I get that.
100%. Yeah. I think he should get in before Steve Smith Sr. as well, even though Steve Smith Sr. is one of those guys who's technically ahead of him on that receiving list, as like I was mentioning, but there's just a cultural impact. And Torrey Holt played 11 seasons and is 17th all time.
Just consistent. 16 seasons or something crazy. Like it was.
Yeah. And Suggs is going to get in. That's going to happen. I think Woodson could for sure. Like
that should eventually, but not right away.
Yeah. Kuechly's going to have he had the same duration as Patrick Willis, and Willis waited. So you're going to get the same treatment. That's just how that works.
And the two of them constantly went back and forth on who's leading the league in tackles. He should be right up there.
Oh yeah, no, he's got the number. He has the interception numbers. He has the forced fumble numbers, and he has the tackle numbers and the limited time that he was in the league. So he'll get it. But there's a lot of these guys that should be in.
Oh, that guy was a menace.
Yeah, he just played on a lot of bad teams.
It's true.
Got to play on a couple good ones.
And I will say, I do want to get up on my soapbox real quick, is Taylor will probably get in because Terrell Davis got in. Taylor has better numbers for longer. Once you let Terrell Davis, I will still say to this day, I don't think Terrell Davis should be in the Hall of Fame.
Amen.
He's in the Hall of Good. He's in the Hall of really good, but he's not Hall of Fame. But once they let him in, you've got to open the door for Fred Taylor. Like, he just did it for longer. He did great for much longer
on bad teams.
Davis ever did on bad teams.
Yeah, you're taking Davis for the peak and the Super Bowl stuff, but
it's the back-to-back Super Bowls. Those guys just get honored. And no hate on Davis. He has 3 great seasons. Insanely great seasons.
And it's not his fault that he couldn't keep it up. Those injuries were just especially back then, you'd mess up an ACL and you're just cooked.
Yeah. No, if he had today's doctors.
So that's true. Yeah, today's doctors, he might. Oh man, I don't even.
He probably would have played 12 or 13 years, like Davis would have. But that's just real. I just hate that a lot of these. I wanted to say about the offensive linemen. I hate how long they have to wait most of the time. It's so dumb. Willie Anderson's fantastic. This dude's been done playing since 2008. And if you didn't know, Willie Anderson was a human wrecking ball. That's a guy. That's just a shame that he's probably going to get seniored. Because I think his eligibility is almost up, but that's a bummer. I was really glad to see Jared Allen get in. Legitimately, that dude's a menace of a human being. Nobody liked playing against that guy. He's such a jerk on the field.
And Antonio Gates changed the league. He was like that first basketball star turned tight end.
Yeah, let me
That's
just put my back on
everyone
you
looked-
and then just box you out.
That's what everyone looked for from then on out. They're all like, we
I
need
loved
basketball
Antonio.
players to get in. So
I loved
get that.
Antonio Gates on my fantasy team. I am not
That's
gonna
so-
lie, that was real nice.
I love those Chargers team in Madden. Those
Oh, dude.
teams were
L-
stupid.
LT, Rivers, and Gates,
Just
That-
throw
Vincent
the
Jackson?
ball up.
bro. That's an NFL blitz team to die for right there. Good time. Hey, but no, again, 4-man class shouldn't have been a thing. There's so many guys on here that are just gonna go, and Vinatieri is the standout to me alongside Torrey Holt that should have gone. Super bummed about that. I think a lot of these guys are gonna get there, but again, this is all writers being writers, the system being the system, and some of this stuff, as much as we love the game, is a bit of a bummer how long it takes for people to receive due recognition and for a process to really be clear and make sense to all of us. A lot of nuances to the sport that we love. But we're going to wrap it on our 2024 season coming to an end. And it went so many of the ways we thought it would go, except for Jameson, who definitely said the Eagles weren't going to make the playoffs. Just had to bring that up one more time just because I was saving that one. But no, like we did see the Chiefs getting here. We did expect the Bills to be competing in an AFC championship. That was not a surprise. Wasn't a surprise to me that the Eagles were in NFC championship game.
It was a great year if you were a 49ers fan,
It
obviously.
was a terrible year if you cheer for red and gold. It was brutal.
That's all right, guys. At least one of our teams went off and did something.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was
You
nice.
get like one extra game than us or two? No, you got two. My bad.
Hey,
Got two
like I
extra
said,
games.
second best team in the league. Played the Super Bowl champions to the closest. The only team we lost to was the Super Bowl champions.
Speaking
Lost
of
by 6
narratives, jeez. Yeah, there's a way to swing all things in your favor. It's the endless hope of NFL fans. We genuinely hope that you enjoyed this season. We appreciate all you guys sticking with us. We definitely love all the social media fun that we've had and appreciate you guys liking and sharing and being a part of what we do. It's always fun for us to get on here and just talk smack for a couple hours. We also want to just collectively, I know the other three of us want to extend a big thank you to Grant in that for taking the load and legitimately just handling stuff for us this year. He is behind all of our posts and shorts. So when you see him grandizing and making all those clips about himself, that is his doing.
Don't worry, I've got like 15 to 20 in the bank that I'm gonna post. That have not posted that will get posted. Some throwback ones, some good stuff.
Some
There's
black man.
no world that me and Jameson live in where we haven't texted separately and been like, "What the crud? The stuff we said was really good."
Listen. I guarantee you, I have most of those probably already made, and there's some that I've set to save to then do in the quiet months.
We love giving Grant crap. It's literally part of the reason that we started doing this podcast, and it is a joy every time it happens, especially last week. I know that there's a Saquon one coming. Speaking of stuff that's in the hopper right now, where Grant lost his mind unnecessarily, but that's part of what we live for. We thank you guys for just being a part of all the fun that we get to have, and we're super pumped for a couple of off-season episodes. We love our draft episodes, so definitely check in for that. We'll try and absolutely make the free agency conversation a great episode and something to chew on while we're all waiting for the next almost 6 months.
And don't believe
relevant
anything
football.
you hear for the next month. Don't believe
No.
anything you hear for the next month.
I was just going to say, between now and when we talk to you next, believe nothing. It's all a lie. Thanks for listening to Sportsify, and we'll see